Create and configure a new workspace in TrueCode. TrueCode is a tool that helps you analyze your code for security issues, simulate faults in your embedded code, and also enable collaboration on your codebase by sharing annotations on your source files. All these data is stored in TrueCode Workspace, where you can find all the files created by TrueCode to ease the analysis of your code. This tutorial covers the creation of a new workspace, the configuration of a new codebase root folder, and how to update your file tree when new source files were added. Stage 1. Create a new workspace. To create a new workspace, go to the File menu, and then click on the New Workspace submenu. Doing this will open the new TrueCode Workspace dialog. In this dialog, you need to provide two inputs. New Workspace Title. You need to provide a name for the new workspace. This name will later appear on the Open Workspace list under the File menu. New Codebase Path. Also, you will need to specify the root folder of your source code. Starting at this folder, TrueCode will explore the subfolders to find for source files. Once you have finished with these fields, you can click on the OK button to create the workspace with the basic configurations. Stage 2. First scan of the file tree. Immediately after the workspace was created, TrueCode will offer the possibility to scan the file tree to find source files. At this point, we highly recommend you to click on Yes, so TrueCode will start populating the file tree with your source files. If you do so, TrueCode will start scanning all the subfolders starting at the codebase path that you specified on the previous window. By default, TrueCode will scan the file tree, searching for source files identified by the most common extensions for C and C++ source files and headers. The whole file tree scan process can take a while depending on the number of files on your codebase. Once it is finished, all the discovered files will be shown in the Files tab. This view will use the same structure of the subfolders inside the root codebase folder, so you can easily find your source files where you expect them to be. Please make sure that TrueCode correctly discovered all the expected source files. In most of the cases, this configuration is enough to proceed with the next stage, which is to instruct TrueCode how to compile the recently discovered source files. If this is the case, please refer to the next tutorials depending on your build system. CMake or similar system. If your codebase uses a build system that is capable of creating a JSON-based compilation database, then you already have a compilation database that TrueCode can use. This scenario will yield the best results when configuring TrueCode. If this is your case, please refer to the Import Compilation Database tutorial to continue configuring your workspace. Other build scripts. If your codebase is not capable of creating a compilation database, we recommend you to generate a build log. This log should contain the explicit commands used by the building system to invoke the compiler. This is usually referred as a verbose build log. Please get help from a developer from your team to know how to create this verbose build log. This is the recommended way to create a compilation database and has the potential to yield good results when configuring TrueCode. Once you have the build log, please refer to the Parse Build Log tutorial to continue with the configuration. No build information. In the case where you do not have a build log or you cannot build the source code on your own, you can let TrueCode discover how to compile your source code. Please note that this process is based on a best effort, and usually, it does not guarantee that all of your source files will be compiled correctly. If you would like to use this option, please refer to the Generate Compilation Database tutorial to continue with the configuration of TrueCode. In the case that some of your files are not shown in the list, you might want to change the configuration about how TrueCode discover files. In this case, please refer to the next stages of this tutorial. Stage 3. Configure Workspace. If some of the configurations that you provided before were not the right ones, or some files were not discovered by TrueCode, you can tune the search for your use case. To do so, go to Workspace Settings and then click on File Settings. In this wizard, you can configure the base folder for your codebase, the paths for the annotations databases used by TrueCode, or the source code file extensions. Stage 4. Configure Codebase folder. If you made some mistakes, or you would like to change the path of the codebase you are analyzing, you can make such adjustments here. In the first stage of the File Settings window, you can make modifications to your codebase source folder. Simply click on the folder button to show a file browser and select the new base folder for your codebase. Once you have selected the new path, click on Save to reflect the change on your workspace configuration files. In the case that TrueCode detects a change on the codebase folder, it will ask you to index the files of the new folder. This step is similar as the very first scan of your workspace. Once you've finished configuring the codebase folder, you can click on Next to move to the next stage. Stage 5. Configure databases paths. TrueCode uses databases to store the information about annotations created by the user, namely manual annotations, by code checks, the database where code checks store the annotations created by their findings, or optional annotations marking code as reviewed or other additional comments. Additionally, you can define custom fields for the annotations as new text fields, select fields, and others. Each one of the annotations databases resides on a file, whose paths can be configured on the second stage of the File Settings wizard. If you would like to change the database paths for review or comments annotations, or you would like to define custom field for the annotation, click on the Show Optional Fields checkbox to reveal these extra configurations. Please refer to TrueCode's documentation to know more about these options. Once you have finished with your database configurations, click on the Save button to update your configuration files. Once saved, you can click on Next to move to the next stage. Stage 6. Configure file extensions. By default, TrueCode uses the most common extensions for C and C++ code to scan for source files. In the extensions stage of the File Settings wizard, you can configure these extensions if needed. Edit the values on the field File Extensions for Codebase to specify any non-standard extension you use in your codebase. In this list, you can separate multiple configurations using commas. Once you've finished configuring the file extensions, you can click on the Save button to save your changes. Once again, if TrueCode detects any changes to the file extensions configurations, it will ask you to index the files on your source folder. This step is similar as the first scan. After this step, you can safely close the wizard. Stage 7. Manually reload the file tree. Codebases are dynamic, and the code inside them evolves as new features are being developed. In this sense, it is also normal to have new files of which TrueCode might not be aware of their existence. If this is the case, you will need to reload the file tree manually. To achieve this, go to the Files tab, right-click on the file tree, and select Reload File Tree. Optionally, you can press the F5 key for the same purpose. In the case you added new files, or configured new files extensions, they should now appear on the Files tab. In the case TrueCode detects new files, or changes on the already existing files, you will receive a warning message saying that the codebase index is outdated. This reflects the fact that the introduced changes might have modified or even introduced new functions in your codebase. To reload the function index, please refer to the respective tutorial. You have now finished creating and configuring a new workspace. You are now ready to proceed with the next stage. Please get help from a developer of your team and select the next tutorial that suits the most for your case. Thanks for watching.